On to the game. Sorry, go ahead.
Gav, just quickly. So, as you remember, go back to the summer as you're talking, that they were distancing themselves from Fernandes. They also made a very late attempt to sign Christian Eriksen from Tottenham. And Eriksen didn't really show any interest. But, so we get to January. So why not offer Tottenham £20 million for Christian Eriksen, who's got 6 months left in his contract, who's proven in the Premier League. He's not had a great season, but you could get Eriksen for a fraction of the cost of Bruno Fernandes.
He's 27 years old. He knows the Premier League.
Fernandes is 25.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's just like, if you're trying to get a sensible, smart deal, pay a fraction for a player,
All right, how about we give United and Ed the benefit of the doubt? Remember how a week ago it looked like Eriksen to Inter was all done, and now they're kind of stalling and stuff? Could they be stalling because United are in for Eriksen? Or do you not want to give them that much credit? No?
No, I don't want to give them that much credit.
All right, fine. Let's move on to the game. We saw a new formation, or what looked like a new formation. It's weird. Now, I only watched this game on television. You were there. On television, they kept assuring us that it was that it was a back three and stuff like that. I thought it was kind of a weirdo setup. I don't like Shaw in the back three if that's what they're doing. I guess the idea was that Williams and Wan-Bissaka would shut down Robertson and Alexander-Arnold. That worked a peach, yeah. What do you make of this? We don't need to see this again, ever, right?
No. I mean, it was somewhere in between a back three and a back five. The classic, fag paper tactic style. It didn't really work, and but it was also a result of the lack of options that Solskjaer had available, and that's because of injuries, and it's because he didn't sign enough players last summer. There's more than one reason for it, but it didn't look very good, did it? And it looked even worse when Van Dijk scored a header from 6 yards when he was being marked by 5'6" Brandon Williams. So
And I think even Fred was involved with the marking at the beginning of the corner, which is even worse because at least Williams is a defender, so defenders can mark even if he's not a matchup size wise. But Fred, I mean,
Fred actually played quite well on Sunday, which is it shows you where United are at.
How is Juan Mata not starting that game?
Because he started 3 games in a row and he's tired.
I don't care. He's your best player for the last 2 games. Why don't you start him?
Because you're going to play on the counter-attack. What else are you going to do?
And what? He's the only one who can pass the ball properly.
He can't run.
How many times? But it doesn't matter. Every time that Pereira had a decent ball, or even Fred, to send Martial or Daniel James, your friend Daniel James, to just send Martial through, and they couldn't make that pass, or it was a poor pass, or they could take an extra touch. Mata would have been so much better in that setup. He could have played an hour and then change him for someone else. But it was ridiculous that he didn't start.
We need to give credit to Liverpool, but first, I want to ask about the disallowed Firmino goal. And I guess it's just a cultural I thought we were past this, right?
Yeah, surely,
because
come on.
I watched on television and Souness and Roy Keane saying, game's gone, it's madness, blah blah blah. The implication being that De Gea is a wuss and you're entitled to make the challenge. I know in the days of Nat Lofthouse and stuff, that was the case, and right up until the 80s, and that there was always a disconnect between, us wussy people from the continent and you hard men over here. But the game's moved on, hasn't it? That is always a foul in 2020 in the Premier League, right?
Every league, everywhere.
But listen, I mean, my initial reaction was that was, it was a foul. Why is he not blowing the whistle? And then, having watched it on the replay, I'm thinking, something, Van Dijk did everything he could to put his arms down, and De Gea, I wouldn't say he's a wuss, but De Gea doesn't exactly command the aerial balls very well. Now, I'm confused because against Everton a couple of months ago, they allowed a goal to stand when De Gea was fouled. Dominic Calvert-Lewin headed the ball, put his arm across De Gea's face. That goal was given. Now, the confusion is there because that was a much more obvious foul than it was yesterday when Van Dijk basically jumped for the ball and De Gea bought the foul. So I don't know where we're at. I mean, if you're using Calvert-Lewin as a gauge, then it's not a foul. I mean, do you remember the Calvert-Lewin goal?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
I do. And that was obviously a foul.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. No, I take your point about consistency. One thing about Liverpool, I'm obviously breaking every record. I'm looking for little signs of a slowdown. I think they've had a number of games where maybe they didn't play great and still got the win, which is more than understandable. But I thought they actually played really well, except for the finishing, which was kind of all over the shop.
Yeah.
I don't think it's an exaggeration. They could have had 4 or 5 in this game.
Oh, easily. It could have been 8-3. And if Martial had been a bit better in front of goal, United would have scored. But Liverpool had loads of chances, and it was embarrassing at times just to watch. Ferguson was there yesterday, and I'd love to have had a penny for his thoughts as to what Ferguson was thinking about how his Man United had become such an easy opponent for the big sides like Liverpool. They were hopeless yesterday, hopeless, and Liverpool could have easily won that 4-5.
All right, Roy Keane thinks that.
Roy Keane.
Well, I know where you're going with this. He thinks that Solskjaer needs more time.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, there's a remarkable exchange between Jamie Carragher and Roy Keane, and then he brings up this thing talking about, well, when people talk about CVs and stuff, well, look at Lampard, he needs more time too because they lost at Newcastle in a game which Chelsea absolutely dominated and could have scored 2 or 3 goals, and Newcastle never had a shot goal, which was completely absurd. But I want to get your guys' take on it. Should United be looking for a new manager, and maybe for next season, perhaps?
Yeah.
And are they looking for a new manager, Augie?
Well,
should they, and are they?
They should be, yes. And I imagine that they are in the usual big club way that they're always looking. I mean, they're always looking at what's out there. But Solskjaer, for me, makes it a lot easier for the Glazers and Woodward in terms of he doesn't really challenge them, he doesn't really push for players. And after the Mourinho experience, when they were challenged publicly, people who went too far, I think that the owners are quite happy for a bit of a quiet life. But I don't think changing the coach will solve Man United's problems. I really don't. I think that these problems at United have been going on for the last 10 years now. They predate Ed Woodward. This is a Glazer thing. This is about their refusal to accept where they are in the football world right now. Their refusal to pay over the odds for players at times when they have to, because
okay, but you need to start somewhere, Augie, to rebuild that club, right? And the easiest is not for the Glazers to sell the club or for anyone to put enough pressure on them that they decide to leave and sell it to whoever has the money to buy that club, which is not many people in this whole world. So where do you start then? You can't start with the Glazers, and so the next
you have to start
with the manager,
Woodward.
Someone who will have an idea. But even Woodward, even if you get rid of Woodward and bring in the most intelligent CEO that you could find, who brings a director of football or sporting director, whatever. If you don't have a manager with a clear idea of where he wants to go, what he wants to do, and who he needs to do that, there's no point having. You could have the best sporting director in the world. If he doesn't have the right manager with him, under him, it's not going to work either. So start with the manager and then do the rest.
But the best sporting director in the world would identify that the manager's not good enough and find a manager that was good enough. I just think that the people who are making the decisions at the top of the club and making the wrong decisions repeatedly, they're not learning from their mistakes. And they could bring in Pochettino, but if they don't have the recruitment, side of the club working properly, then Pochettino or whoever, their hands would be tied because they're not getting the players in. And every time Man United try and sign a player, it's a saga. It doesn't happen quickly. And I can't remember the last time they actually signed a player thinking they've done well there and they've done it quickly. They just don't do that.
I'll play devil's advocate or Woodward's advocate for a second.
Really? Can you?
I'm going to try. United are 5th in the Premier League, right?
Yeah.
They're 5th after summer, in which they added Harry Maguire, who, I think I thought he was poor.
Average.
I mean, this is like Tom, Dick, and Harry. He's one of them. They added Wan-Bissaka, who may have a future one-on-one, but
can't pass the ball.
Yes, not good on the ball. They added Daniel James. Less said, the better. And they sold guys who at least were veterans, and it's part of a rebuild or whatever. And they're 5th. And if Solskjaer is so bad, does it not stand to reason that with a better manager, after this difficult summer and a weakened squad, they would be higher up the table? Am I spinning?
Where's your case for Ed Woodward in that?
Oh, and Pogba.
What's the case for Ed Woodward there?
Well, and Pogba's been injured the whole time. Your best player is injured the whole time, right? And maybe if Pogba had been fit throughout, and maybe if they had a better manager, and given the upheaval, and this was always going to be a transition season because they sold veterans and gave space to the youngsters. And
they've been in transition for 7 years. They've had 7 years of transition. How much transition do you need? You know, they keep reinventing the cultural reboot. You know, Moyes was the guy that was the 6-year plan, and then Van Gaal came in to give the club a culture. Then Mourinho came in to win things, and now, you know, I'm kind of lost with it all. They've tried everything, and let's be. It's a 7. Leicester have transitioned in that time. Chelsea have transitioned twice. Liverpool lost to Stoke 5-1 on the last 6-1 on the last day of the season in 2015. They're champions of Europe now. How long does the transition take? You need people with expertise and a bit of ruthlessness in the right areas, and United are just drifting along.
Okay, sorry, Ed. I tried. My prediction is...
I'm not even sure you tried that hard.
All right, what about this? What if Ed loads up the BMW and just puts a whole bunch of gold bars in the trunk and drives up to Michael Edwards' house and kidnaps him and brings him back? Would that do the trick?
Why would Michael Edwards decide to leave Liverpool to go to this United project?
Because he can reinvent himself and he can show that he's the reason Liverpool are successful and not that Jurgen Klopp.
But they're 10 years behind in terms of, data, strategy, recruitment, network.
He can bring all his data with him. I don't know. I'm trying.
No, but what I'm telling you though, Augie, sorry, quickly. If Poch comes, there is no way Pochettino comes to that club without a better structure ahead.
Pochettino and Michael Edwards. Bob's your uncle.
yeah, maybe. But I can guarantee you that Poch would not work in that kind of environment. And that doesn't mean that Poch would say to Edward, okay, hire me and then you have to go. Woody can stay. But surely Poch would say, okay, but we need a better structure above. We need that sporting director, which Mourinho was always so reluctant to get that he probably made everything possible.
You had a sporting director named George.
Yeah. And Solskjaer is of his league anyway.
I think, let's try and give Edward a bit of credit here. I mean, coming from me, which is unusual, but I think that they have the right idea at United. They do need to clear at the dead wood. You know, people have been there for 7-8 years. They've got to start again, but the problem with United under Woodward is that they go to extremes. So at the minute, their extreme is clear everybody out, bring young players through with a lack of experience and players that can deliver now. 2 or 3 years ago, the extreme was let's throw loads of money at Di Maria, at Falcao, at Schweinsteiger. Let's go for the Galacticos. They've not been sensible enough to have a bit of both. And at the minute, my concern is that they're clearing out all the experienced players and they're leaving the squad so short that the young players that are coming through, their progress will be damaged by the fact they're having to play amongst players that aren't good enough. The young players have carried United this season. There's no experience to bring them along. When they were accused of, when Alan Hansen said famously in 1995, you don't win anything with kids. Well, people forget that team had Steve Bruce, had Gary Pallister, had Dennis Irwin, all these great experienced players that could bring these players along and help them develop. The current squad of McTominay, Rashford, Greenwood, James, they've got nobody like that to look to and to help them develop. And so their progress could be damaged by that. And then they go to another extreme in a couple of years' time and go back to the Galacticos again.
All right, Mark. Thank you. You've depressed every United fan out there once again.
Have a great week, everyone.
Great vote of confidence for Andres Pereira there as well. Have a good one.
Cheers, guys.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.